Welcome to the WagerTalk Podcast for the week ending June 3rd. We've got a big show tonight as we've got William Bernanke with us, lead data analyst, CG Analytics. He'll be stopping by to take us behind the counter with the NBA Finals and the Stanley Cup Final, and we'll take a little look at some UFC with William. Also ask him if he's getting any early money with the football. And, of course, we are going to be in studio. My partners in crime tonight will be Dave Cokin and Ralph Michaels will be joining us in the second segment. We will preview the weekend's biggest baseball games. And, of course, we'll close the show, as we always do, with our best bets. Those best bets, the last 8 weeks, 13-8. Mark Seidel was behind the controls, and I'm your host, Marco D'Angelo. So let's get this party started and bring in William Bernanke. Will, welcome to the show. Glad to have you aboard. I know it's been a crazy time this week. We've got NBA Finals. We've got the Stanley Cup Final. And, of course, that Stanley Cup Final has our Golden Knights in it. And I want to ask you, I'm sure you've been asked this question a million times over the last several weeks, but how is CG's liability if the Knights win? And have you been able to see, get some of that money balanced out with the pros maybe coming in and taking some Washington action to help you guys out?
Yeah. First off, I'm glad to be on, guys. It's a pleasure. The series, we got a lot of Capitals money to certainly balance out the liability. That was before the series and before Game 2. This is series price. Now, going into Game 3, we've seen it reverse itself. This morning, the adjusted price was Washington minus 115, short favorite. And over the course of the day, we've taken, 22 mid three-figure bets and 5 mid four-figure bets now on the Golden Knights. So that's pushed the line to 120. I can expect that to even rise, and as well as Game 3, you see Vegas money certainly show up.
I want to let's expand on that for a moment, because we know the Golden Knights have been an absolute bonanza for local sports bettors all year long. So is this a case of locals firing with, they've got lots of extra money in their pocket thanks to the Golden Knights, or is this informed money, in your opinion, that's showing up for Game 3?
This is definitely locals betting here. This all the Vegas money, not all of it, but 85%, that's a safe estimate here, is all locals money backing the home team. A lot of people feeling, and one person admitted to me, they felt they missed out on the party early in the year. Mm-hmm. They're not going to be denied having Vegas win the Cup and not see any profits from it. We've
got to mention Game 2 because, let's face it, most of the results have been in favor of the bettors and not the house as far as anything involving the Golden Knights is concerned. Last night, the Golden Knights lose, and obviously lose on the puck line because they lost the game straight up, and the game also stayed under the total. This was a really unusual night for the books in town. You guys actually won money last night.
Yeah, the fact that it stayed under was borderline miracle, especially with 2-2 after first there, whatever it was. But yeah, it was amazing. No empty net goals, and staying under, of course, killed any parlays, because all we really saw yesterday was there was some capital money showing up. Capitals in Vegas parlayed with the over, and the fact that it stayed 3-2 certainly wiped out any of those parlays.
Will, was the game last night more of a pros versus Joes as far as the split? The money that you saw in Washington, was that more of your sharp bettors? And obviously, the zigzag theory would have been in, major play last night with Washington. But again, we know that the public is all over, the Knights. But how does the pros and the Joes, how does that balance out?
Yeah, it was exactly what you said, a pros versus Joes, up until a certain point in the day when the line just, you probably noticed too, across the market, it was dropping right up until, face-off, and pro bettors were betting it early to get the best numbers, and then you saw it drop right before face-off. That's when we started seeing more public money coming in. So definitely was a pros versus Joes, but the pros really showed their hand very early, and the public showed it, really throughout.
With the 4 major sports, we know that hockey has always been the least popular at the betting windows. until this year, here. There's still probably not it's still number 4 as far as, but to try to compare, we had Monday night, for example, and this would be a great indicator because you had Game 7 on Monday night of the Western Conference Finals. The two darlings, which everybody felt that Game 7 was the NBA Finals for all intents and purposes, going against Game 1 of the Stanley Cup. Tell our listeners how the handle compared those two games.
Yeah, it was up until I would say about 3:30. The handle was higher on the hockey game, about 20% higher, and then at the last hour, the basketball money came in, and it was the game started, I believe, an hour later. Was it 6 o'clock?
Yeah,
I think right. So it gave bettors an extra hour. So I wouldn't say that was the major factor, but it gave bettors an extra hour to push the basketball handle just above the hockey handle.
Well, I'm glad I didn't run into you in a bar and ask that question and make a bet on the over-under, how much of a difference, because I still would have thought that the Game 7 would have been a much bigger spread. But that tells you how popular the hockey is here for sure. Heading into Game 3 to Saturday, we do have to wait to Saturday with that. Where do you anticipate the money coming as we get to game day?
I can imagine now that Ivegny, I know the guys because Kuznetsov is questionable, so I think that's going to be a major factor on where the line gets adjusted. But people are just going to blindly bet the Knights, especially the local books here. On the Strip, I could see it being 50-50, maybe a little bit shaded towards the Knights, but certainly speaking for local books, I think that's going to be Vegas money all the way, and this line probably will drop.
Switching over to the NBA Finals, we're taping just a couple hours here on Thursday night before Game 1. Tell us where the money's been. We've seen all of the series line. Nobody's really given, Cleveland any shot in this one. And as I said, for all intents and purposes, the finals, the championship was decided in the Western Conference Finals. How's the money been at CG?
Yeah, certainly bettors aren't giving Cleveland much of a chance as far as the point spread. But on the money line, really, I don't really see this too often. 75% of the money line bets, including account and over-the-counter, have come in on the Cavaliers. At the big plus money, so bettors are trying to hit that lottery ticket here. Mm-hmm. Where on the point spread, 3 times more money is coming in on Golden State on account, and over-the-counter we're seeing 2 times more Golden State money come in there on the point spread. And in total, we got a total pros versus Joes on the total. I'm sure you guys have seen it. The total has just rocketed up 2 points here in the last 30 minutes. It's up to 217, up from the opener 216. 3 times more over money on account, and 3 times more under money over the count.
That's interesting, and I think the sharper bettors are expecting, I guess, that the Cavaliers' bad defense, and that's been a bad defense all season, might be involved here. With the foregone conclusion nature of this series, that doesn't mean it's going to play out that way, but at least going in, it's basically a foregone conclusion that Golden State's going to win another championship. And the prices are really big as well. Even with the mobile app, are we seeing any downturn in terms of volume as compared to, say, maybe last season?
So far, yeah. In Game 1, it's not the type of handle I certainly would expect, but I'm taking into account it is Thursday. It's not the weekend, so I don't want to get crazy about it. But for the series price, we're seeing a lot about what we normally would see on the series price. But as far as the game tonight, the handles, I'd say about 20% less than last year's for the Game 1 of the Finals.
Which is really significant because there are way more mobile apps in play now than there were last year at this time. It's obviously the mobile app market has completely boomed, and yours is no exception. So that to me is a serious drop-off when you consider that there's way more people with access to the numbers wherever they are in the state of Nevada than has ever been the case previously.
Yeah, no, definitely. And then, again, this game is a later start, 6 o'clock, so a lot can happen from now until 6. But I think the big spread kind of scares people off, too.
Yep. Well, switching gears to football, I know we're still a couple months away from football, but everybody loves to, get in there and start hearing where some of the sharps are coming in on some teams in a futures market. Because let's face it, unless you're somebody that's coming into Vegas and you're just here for vacation and you're plunking down a couple bucks on your, where you went to school or your hometown team, most of the money you're seeing right now, it's all sharp money. It's not the casual bettor. So do you have any liability early on any futures?
Yeah, absolutely. There's 4 that have significant liability right now. The Houston Texans is certainly over is a liability, and I think that's, you guys have probably known about that for a while. We have taken significant bets, low 4 figures, over 8.5 minus 140, and $1.55 as well. And it's currently already up to 9, and it juiced to the under minus 125.
That's directly related to Deshaun Watson, isn't it?
Absolutely, Deshaun Watson, and I guess you can't blame him as well as he looked last year.
Yep.
And he's coming back from that ACL injury, and bettors certainly are buying in.
In that division, too, even though Jacksonville played as well as they did, you got a questionable Andrew Luck in that division. In Tennessee, they can't get out of their own way.
And I think that ties into some of the others that are getting early play, because I got to tell you, even though they really don't have a home field, the Chargers are getting attention from bettors like crazy. They're betting them like the season's already over as far as the division's concerned.
Yeah. Well, for a team that's found ways to lose every single year, it's hard to believe that what I've seen here. Opening at 8 and then seeing bets at 8, 8.5, and now they're up to 9.
Wow.
Juiced over minus 160, so I suppose we're going to get to 9.5 pretty soon.
That's enormous.
Yeah, it's incredible. Low 4-figure bets all over the place. I stopped counting after 12. Yeah, it's just... the Chargers, as far as people are concerned, they're going to be 10-6 or higher.
And let's talk about the others. I'm going to guess at who they are. I've got a pretty good clue, but the Browns and the Giants.
Well, the Browns, yes. The Giants, not as much.
Okay.
The Browns have seen. I think that's sentimental money with the Browns. We talked about that, right, Dave? The Browns bettors constantly coming in to buy into this team. The sharp last year, every game there was a sharp side, so to speak, and you're seeing it again here after supposedly good draft. I'm sure you probably disagree with their draft. But,
I do disagree with it. Yeah. I thought they should have taken Chubb with the first pick, and we'll see what happens. The Broncos, and that leads me to a question, by the way. The Broncos, in a lot of people's opinion, got the best guy in the draft in Chubb, and you put him out there with Von Miller. Boy, that defense. Whew. Are they getting play?
The Broncos, especially with adding, Keenum to the mix there. Bettors certainly feel that they'll have some stability finally at quarterback, and that division isn't exactly lighting anybody on fire. And bettors are certainly feeling the Broncos can take a step up this year.
Go ahead. Well, let's go to UFC Fight Night. We've got a good card this weekend in Connecticut, I believe it is. And these fight nights, it's really cool because, and I'm a casual fan, but it's just like almost all the fights, and this is why UFC to me is successful. They make good fights, and you look up and down the board on all these fights, and there's very few big prices, which means people are going to get involved. They're going to be watching it on TV, and you can almost pick the color of the trunks. It doesn't much matter whether you know the guys or not. You're going to get a fair shake of it, whoever you take, as far as the competitiveness is concerned.
Yeah, absolutely. The fight, certainly the main event, is you couldn't ask for a better situation on paper. Jimmy Rivera, Marlon Moraes, Rivera opening up at 120, and as far as from betting perspective, we're seeing both sides early, and that's a good indicator going into Friday that we should have balanced action on this fight, and nothing where it goes over to 150, crosses over. You guys have seen those type of line moves, and the liability just grows and grows where maybe you put the wrong number out or something. This one looks like it's the right number, at least for now, and it should be a very competitive fight with a high total.
I was noticing and looking at some of the numbers just before we came on. There has been some movement on a couple of underdogs, and usually this far in advance, on the day of the fight, not so much because the public likes to bet dogs in these fights, but when it's a couple of days early, and in this case, it's more than 24 hours, that dog money is often pretty sharp money. Who's getting it?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Good point, Dave, about the dogs and certainly betting them early. Spitz, Daniel Spitz has seen the most action of any dog so far. And there's been 2 bets of low 4 figures at plus 260 and plus 240. And it moved 29th. Both moves were on the 29th.
I got to figure, Will, that with the mobile app, and then you're sitting there and you look on TV, and all of a sudden you see there's fights tonight, that you've got to get so much money coming in on the apps the day of, actually as the fights are going, parading on, because, it makes it so great. You're sitting at home on a Friday or Saturday night, and there's fights on TV. Why not get involved with the mobile app?
Absolutely. It's a must. You have to have the mobile app, especially on a weekend like this. You have the Stanley Cup Finals Game 3 on Saturday. You have the NBA Finals Game 2 on Sunday. You have the French Open. I know, Dave, you love your tennis there.
Oh, yeah. Huge tennis fan.
Right.
Sarcasm meters just going off the chart right now.
Yeah. Well, that's sure there's value there, too, with tennis. Baseball's in full swing. UFC Fight Night, 131 on Friday. And for the soccer enthusiasts out there, we got every MLS match on the board. World Cup's coming up June 14th. And I don't want to forget to mention the full prop sheets we have for the Stanley Cup Finals. It's really one of the best prop sheets I've ever seen for hockey. I mean, it's so extensive, it almost blows your mind. You need to look at it for a good 30, 40 minutes. And the NBA Finals, of course, a great prop sheet as well. So make sure you download the app, go to any CG Technology Sportsbook, sign up for an account so you can bet the games where you watch the games.
Yeah, and Will, I want to add, unlike, when you're on our radio show and stuff where we're actually talking to the Vegas market, we're talking on a podcast. We're talking to people all across the nation, and a lot of those people, they come to Vegas for vacations or whatever, people from Arizona, California, the weekend warriors. They don't realize, a lot of them don't realize, that you don't have to live in Nevada to be able to get the app. You just have to be here, and you can use the app while you're in town. You make one stop, open up the account, put money in. You can bet all weekend long, and then before you leave town, you take your money out, but the app is still open. Your account's still there. Next time you come to town in the weekend, just deposit the money in again, and you're set.
Absolutely. Download the app ahead of time to save the aggravation, and then fund your account, and cash it out when you leave.
Hey, Will, thanks for taking the time to join us today. I look forward to having you on the show moving forward, and I love the fact that we can get bookmakers on the show that take our listeners and let them take that peek behind the counter, because for them it is a fascinating world. And, for most of them, let's face it, you're the enemy. But you know what? We want to make them realize you're not really the enemy. You're nice guys. You're nice guys, but we still want to take your money.
And, we'll throw this in. Will's he didn't just suddenly line up behind the counter and try to take everybody's money. Will's been a bettor for a long time, and that's why his Twitter handle is @TheMoneyLineGuy.
Great Twitter handle, too, by the way.
I like it, yeah.
When I had to look that one up today for the show, which I was about to plug it, and Dave took care of it for me. So, good stuff.
I've been following Will for a long time. He knows his stuff.
I was surprised it was still available, to be honest with you. I thought someone would have grabbed that one, a long time ago.
Good stuff, Will. Look forward to talking to you down the road, and enjoy the games this weekend, and I can't wish you totally good luck because, we are still on the other side of the counter.
Right. No, of course, guys. Good luck with all the plays, and, it was my pleasure. I enjoy it.
All right. Thanks, Will.
Have a good one, guys.
It's Manic Monday, and that means every pick at WagerTalk.com is just $9. Get a play in any sport valued at up to $30 for just $9 each and every Monday at WagerTalk.com.
We are back, and it's time to take a look at Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Final. And all I can say is, wow, guys, after the first 2 games, you couldn't have asked for any more excitement than we've had in these 2 games. In Game 2, Dave, you look at that game, and we got a taste of our own medicine. Hobie, what a game he had in Game 2. And it's like, we finally know what the rest of the teams that faced us felt like going against Marc-Andre Fleury because nothing was going past him in Game 2.
And, we didn't have the magic touch, as in Alex touch, who had it's funny how these guys, good players, had a heck of a year. He had a rough game. He took a bad cross-checking penalty in the offensive zone, which led to a Capitals power play goal. It wasn't his fault, but a shot deflected off his elbow and kind of bounced around, and that ended up getting past Fleury. And then he was the guy who got victimized by Holtby near the end of the game. You kind of wish he'd gotten a little more lift on the puck, but it didn't happen, and Holtby made just an unbelievable save. How he got in position to do that is just amazing. So no magic touch, but it's still 1-1, and boy, this looks like a series. It looks like a series that's going to go long.
You know what, Dave, we talked about on the radio. If you asked any time throughout the season, from the time the Knights were born with their team, Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Finals, you're 1-1. There's not a person that wouldn't take that in the world. Talk about perspective. The Knights have played ahead this entire playoffs. They've always been ahead. They've dominated. The Capitals have always played from behind, and they were down 0-2, and they fought back. And so you have a different mindset from both teams.
They were also down 2. They were up 2-0 against Tampa, and gave those games right back
and
when they
went down
home.
0-3 and came back. You're right. So they have gone through both. So you have a different mindset, and mindsets change when you go from one venue to the next. Really, when you think you're 1-1 or you're the favorite or you're the dog, there's such a different way you play when you have that mindset.
Dave, I'm going to go to you and ask you, this has been a remarkable season for the Knights, and every time that we've said, we've talked on the radio, that it was a spot where, scheduling-wise it was bad, pressure-wise, letdown situation, whatever it was, they've always answered it.
Yep.
They were down 0-1 to Winnipeg, but that was a little bit different because it was Game 1, you're on the road, you're supposed to lose on the road. They've lost home ice advantage losing Game 2. How much pressure do you feel is on this team for Game 3? Because if the goal is to win one out of 2 there, but if you lose the first one, it just magnifies the situation for Game 4 because then it becomes almost the must-win situation.
Okay, I disagree.
Okay,
and here's why I disagree. Home ice in the NHL, despite the fact that you've got great crowds and they're absolutely, electric and really into it, there's no sport where home ice means less. I don't think home ice advantage means a damn thing in this series. And I don't think it's going to matter here. It's whoever plays better. Now, and the Golden Knights are going to come out of Game 2 and say, we played fine. It's not like they lost the game 5-1 and got outplayed. I mean, I think you can make a case they actually played better in Game 2 than they did in Game 1. So I don't see where there's any drop-off in confidence for the Golden Knights. And, what do I think? I think if you play them as a dog in both Games 3 and Game 4, I think you'll get a split. I really expect this to be 2-2 coming back to Las Vegas. So, to me, you can make a small wager in Game 3 on the Golden Knights. I don't know if I will or not, but that's where I'd lean. And if I miss, I'd come back with maybe a full unit play on Game 4. I could lose them both and be down a unit and a half, but this just, boy, is sure. If you've looked at these first 2 games, the ebb and the flow, there's little to separate between these 2 teams. It looks like it really does look like a 7-game series, doesn't it?
You know what, Dave? And to amplify that point, you look at the goals Fleury gave up. Off the elbow of Tuck, hit his own skate, and he pulled it back in. I mean, those are goals that don't happen 99 out of 100 times. So, they had some fluky goals, and yes, they're 1-1. But I would rather be the team that did not give up fluky goals. I mean, you have the better goaltender, you have the better team playing right now.
Now, the one thing, and this is the caveat, even though he's done really well since getting back in goal after Grubauer didn't do the job early in the Columbus series, even in the shutout at the end of the Tampa series, he was giving up rebounds like crazy.
Yeah. And still has. Yes, yeah.
But not so much in Game 2. That might have been, in some ways, the best game he's played in the playoffs. I know they got 2 past him, but he had like 37 saves. And as the game went on, he got better in terms of controlling the puck and not giving up those rebounds. Golden Knights have to hope that's not going to become a habit the rest of the way, because that's one of the things that you want to try and feast on with him, is getting that second chance shot.
Let's look at it. The last 4 games, he's got 2 shutouts, and that game last night with the 2 goals, that was a game. The score was 3-2, Dave. That played like a game that should have had 7 or 8 goals in it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right.
Coming into this, I was all over the over in game 1, and I felt that this was going to be a wide open series, because the last 2 series, Washington played a team that doesn't go up and down the ice. The Knights had to adjust their style because of who they were playing in Winnipeg. Now these 2 teams, their natural style is to play open, and they've got the scores. And, I still think, and there was a lot made about the ice here in Vegas because of the heat.
They did a great job, but it's still, after about 10 minutes in each period, it starts to slow down.
Yeah, I saw more bouncing pucks in this round than I have at all. And some of those bouncing pucks cost guys goals because they couldn't get the good stick on it, or either
on both sides.
On both sides. That's what I'm saying. That game was 3-2, but man, I'm telling you, that could have been an 8-goal game. Easily.
Stay out of the penalty box, Knights.
Yeah,
that's the other big thing.
You penalties last night that were, and look, Washington also took a couple of penalties that were not good, and in fact, that got
the 5-on-3.
Oh man, that was huge.
That could have been.
That was the game. That was the game ender. Not getting the 5-on-3, I thought was so
and they were
discouraging.
Too. I mean, they had a bunch of shots. Yeah. It just didn't go in.
If Washington goes on to win this series, you're going to look at 2 things, and it's going to both be in game 2. It's going to be the 5-on-3 that we didn't capitalize on, and it's going to be that last save. That unbelievable.
And remember, we talked about Brandon Holtley, and you brought this up, Dave, that he actually was benched during the start of the playoffs, but
he got a gigantic chip on his shoulder.
He became the 5th ever goalie to shut out a team in games 6 and 7 of a playoff series when they shut out Tampa, and now he's got him 1-1 in the series. So you talk about a goalie with momentum. Marc-Andre Fleury might be the best, but Holtby's got the momentum.
Yeah, he landed a Geico commercial as well.
Ralph, put you on the spot. Game 3, who do you like? We already know Dave gave us a play for 3 and 4.
You know what? I know in the past segment you guys talked about how the series has flipped. It was Washington as the series favorite, now a Knights series favorite. I think the Knights just know how to rebound. They're just a young team. They're just carefree. They're playing with house money. I like the Knights.
I'm going to stay with my thoughts on the over. If they're going to keep putting this up at 5.5, I'm going to be there looking at the over. I think that's where the value is. I know we got 2 good goalies, but we also have 2 teams that are getting a lot of shots on goal, and you can still be a good goalie. Yeah. And you get a couple of those go past you, and then we always have that insurance policy of that empty netter late. But that's where I'm at. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to take a look at 3 big baseball games for this coming weekend. And then, of course, we'll end the show with those best bets. We'll be right back in a moment.
Every Tuesday, WagerTalk.com offers a best bet selection from its hottest handicapper. It's a great way to introduce yourself to WagerTalk.com with a big best bet winner for just $2 on $2 Tuesday.
Welcome back to the WagerTalk Podcast. Time to check out the weekend baseball action, and we've got a good one to kick off the weekend, guys. It is the Boston Red Sox, the Houston Astros. I'm going to go to the man under the hat. He has a team that he roots for a little bit in this series.
Well, only if if I'm not betting or I happen to be on them.
Oh, you don't.
I'll go against the Red Sox.
Oh yeah,
if I think there's a good bet against them.
If you got no money, right, you're definitely a Red Sox fan.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I got to ask you, looking at this one, this very well could be the ALCS. All probability, it's going to be Yankees or Houston, Boston or Houston. We got a guy from Cleveland waving his arms up and down.
They got good pitching, so if they can fix the bullpen, Cleveland's still in the mix. All you got to do is get to the playoffs, and there's going to be somebody else that's going to get in. There's going to be a 5th team. We're I don't know who it's going to be, but there's 2 wild cards, and one game A one-game elimination, you never know what's going to happen.
When we get to that, I'll rant and rave about that one-game
I love
deal.
it.
I know.
love it.
I'll debate you on that one. And I know it's because of scheduling and
Would
everything.
you rather have one less team in and just let the other guy out?
No, I would rather have – we have a 162-game season. Why can't we make this a best of three and give the teams a chance?
All right, you're wrong. That's for another
Because
conversation.
they'll be playing until Christmas. All
All right, let's talk Boston Sale, Houston Cole.
Look, Sale and Cole it's a phenomenal matchup. Sale's off a rare bad start. Those don't happen very often with Chris Sale, so got to figure he's going to rebound. And the Red Sox, I know the numbers are better at home than on the road, but boy, what they've done to right-handed pitching this year. Yeesh. I mean, they just kill righties. I'll see what they do with the price in this game.
What do you make it right now? Off top of your head.
Houston at home, I got to make them a small favorite.
I got to jump in right there. The last time Chris Sale was a dog he was with the White Sox. August 16th, 2016, he faced Verlander at Detroit.
Well, this is a similar type of situation.
Absolutely.
Garrett Cole's been having a Cy Young caliber type of season for the Astros. They are at home. I got to make Houston a small favorite in this game.
How about 125?
Sounds about right.
It's out.
Yeah, well,
I'm going to say 120. So.
I'm going to argue, and I think this game's pick or Boston's the favorite. You look at what Cole's done. His first 7 starts, he had a 76-9 strikeout walk ratio. 76-9 strikeout walk. But his last 4, he's 32-10. The strikeouts have gone down. The walks have gone way up. Now, why 32-10 is great?
Yeah, let's
compare it to 76-9, and you see the downfall. And again, Cole is a person who just jumped onto the scene, went to a different league from Pittsburgh. Obviously, I have a picture of Marco. I'm going to tweet it out later with this pod. And I just think that right now, I think you're seeing a decline of Cole the last couple games, and I think Sale off that loss, it's a great spot for the Boston Red Sox.
I don't know. I'm checking your soda pop bottle here. I think there's something else in it other than soda pop.
There is, but yeah.
Because Garrett Cole has been pitching phenomenal. Garrett Cole, to me, is you look at his numbers for the whole season, he's got 11 or 12 starts, and he's only got 5 wins. You look at his numbers, he should have more than 5 wins. He's had games where the bullpen let him down late. He doesn't get run support. This is a guy that the way he's pitching, Ralph, and you should be able to associate with this. Remember a couple of years ago, Corey Kluber, the year that he had, just kept putting up numbers, but they didn't score him any runs.
Talked about that on the radio. The run support with some pitchers just happens. It occurs. There's no answer to it. It's a season-long phenomenon.
Yeah, and I'm starting to worry about that a little bit with Cole because he's pitching not quite as good as Verlander on this staff. But he's not that far behind. But when Verlander goes out there, they get the runs for him, but Cole just doesn't get it. And as far as, as Cole saying, jumped onto the scene, he didn't jump on the scene. This was the number 1 prospect in the Pittsburgh Pirate organization. When he came up with fanfare. He had an injury the year before that slowed him down. He's healthy now, and yes, he's on a different ball club. And getting out of Pittsburgh, unfortunately, you're reborn. I mean, the team has not made any noise in the playoffs, and that's one of the reasons why I hate the one-game wild card, because we have been on the wrong end of that one-game wild card too many times.
There it goes.
Wow, you feel bad about it?
You guys are getting a little too good on that, picking on me. But okay, I can take it.
Actually, we shouldn't do that because Marco's been inviting us over to Siena Deli.
And that could happen after this show. I heard you say you were hungry.
Yes, I am.
Okay, so I would suggest being nice the rest of the podcast.
I think they need to do away with this one-game wild card.
All right, we found Dave's price. It's baby lamb chops. Okay, guys. All right, I got to look at this one, and I think Dave hit the nail on the head. When you get a pitcher like Chris Sale that had a game like he had last time, these guys bring it in the next game. Go back and look. It's not a lot of them. You go back and look at what he's done off of a bad game like this, and you're going to see a lot of 0 and 1 runs given up in the next start.
He had 91 pitches in 4 2/3 innings in his last game. He gave 5 runs, 5 hits, 6 runs, 3 walks. Put that in perspective. He pitched against the Yankees earlier on April 10th, 87 pitches, 6 innings. So he really just had that bad outing that occurs on occasion. And, again, I expect him to bounce back.
Yeah, I'm with Boston on this one. Now, moving to Saturday, we've got, Washington, the team that was expected to take the National League East, basically run away with it. And then we've got Atlanta, a team that has been a moneymaker for their backers this year. Now, because they've had that early season success, we've seen them installed in a role of favorite a few times, and they faltered in that. But we've got a pitching matchup, Gio Gonzalez and Brandon McCarthy. Dave, I'm going to ask you, with Gio, he's a guy that I feel gets lost on that Washington staff because you've got, Scherzer, you've got Strasburg, but this is a guy that's pitched nothing but consistent baseball, but he's never back. I don't know how many times I can tell you this year that when I look at the screen and he's pitching, you see that, so-called sharp money going against him all the time. Is it because the sabermetrics guys don't like him? Or
sabermetrics aren't bad. I can't explain it at times. It's just this, I guess, reputation that he's not supposed to be doing this as he advances in age, but the guy's been rock solid. How can't knock it. He's just pitching really good ball, and I know, he's expected to decline. I've said this before. Wait for the decline to start happening. Otherwise, you're just trying to guess. Well, his certain indicators are that he's going to start going the other direction. The problem is if you're betting before that actually starts to happen, you can lose a lot of games on the do theory.
Yeah, absolutely. When you're trying to find trends, you want to be ahead of the curve so that you're getting the most value out of it. But if you're getting there way before the train's ready to leave the station, you're in trouble.
You can look at a lot of numbers, but the most important number to look at is how many runs you give up. I don't care ground balls. I don't care strikeouts. He started 11 games this year. 10 of the 11 games, he's allowed 2 runs or less. So every start but one, he's allowed 2 runs or less. If you can't back that, I don't know what you're going to back.
But that's where you get into, and we could do an entire podcast talking old school numbers and sabermetrics numbers
because runs might be different.
Yeah, and you know what? You can still expect it. I'm still looking at what's actually happening, and he, like Ralph,
to me, that's why you use the 2, because you can find pitchers who, it's like there are telltale signs that something is going to change. Either they're going to start getting better. Let me give you an example from Wednesday night. Urania was on the mound for the Marlins. Now he really hasn't pitched bad baseball, and in fact, he's been really good lately. But they never score when he's out there, and the team was 0-11 in his starts this year. So what happens again last night? And I know there were some sharp bettors on Urania last night for the Marlins. He pitches terrific ball. He leaves with a 2-1 lead.
He's gone. He's in the showers already.
He's done.
Yeah.
Okay?
With the win.
And the bullpen comes out in the bottom of the 9th, and they blow the game with some bad pitching and defense. So now they're 0-12 when Urania starts. Now, I'm not knocking the people who took Urania because there are these indicators that indicate, boy, there's value on him as an underdog against Clayton Richard this game. The problem is he never wins. Okay, and you do have to factor the luck factor in someplace. The most memorable guy to me of all time was Andrew Young. Was it Andrew? That was his name, right? The Mets pitcher? It was Young. I might be.
How many years back are you going?
I might be missing his the wrong. I think Andrew Young's a politician. But Young, the pitcher for the Mets, the guy wasn't that bad. He had like 29 losing starts in a row. Yeah. It's the worst streak I've ever seen. And there were people betting him because, his numbers say that he's better than this. Yeah, but he's got shit luck. Okay? And some guys on the flip side get lucky all the time. They can be garbage, and they show up, and the team scores 9 runs. To me, I got to factor that in. I'd rather have a guy who's getting the results he's supposed to get. And those are the guys that I find more reliable, whether it's good or bad.
you look at, Ralph, you've got Brandon McCarthy on the mound. Now, here's a guy. In April, he didn't pitch bad. In May, he has pitched horrible, and he's definitely going.
Anthony Young, excuse me.
All right, close enough.
Thank you, Ralph.
He's gone the wrong way, Andrew McCarthy. It seems to be getting worse in each start. His ERA for the month of May was 5.02. His WHIP was 1.59. And if you look as it's progressed, those numbers have just kept creeping up and creeping up. It's not a case of, okay, he had one bad start that inflated the numbers. They're all in a consistent range. He's pitching about 5 innings, but now he's given up 4 and 5 runs. That's not what he was doing in April. When you see a guy going the wrong way here, do you just jump in and continue to ride him the wrong way until he shows me that he rights the ship?
Marco, I have the same thought when I was handicapping this game, and I have almost the same numbers as you just said, going one game further. First 5 starts, 4-0, 3.10 ERA. Last 5 starts, 1-2, 7.46 ERA. At that point in time, you're not waiting for numbers. You're not waiting for a pitcher to adjust. He's adjusted. He's not pitching to the level he did, and clearly you either have to fade him or look at the over when you're playing this pitcher.
What's interesting with McCarthy is his velocity has been pretty good, but that's not always. It doesn't automatically mean that, he's really healthy and he's pitching great ball, because the velocity might be up, but the location isn't. Yeah. It's more about location. It's more about where you throw the ball than how fast you throw the ball.
Just like real estate, location.
Yeah, and McCarthy's location recently hasn't been very good. He's getting into the happy zone of too many hitters, and I don't care how hard you're throwing the ball. I mean, if you're throwing it 105, maybe, but where he's throwing it, you don't locate it properly, you're going to get hit.
For me in this one, you've got a Washington team that's playing their best ball of the season right now. Yep. They're 8-1 their last 9 games as we're taping this show. And you've got a pitcher on the mound that's been solid all year long, and I got another pitcher on the other side that's not solid right now. There's only one way I can go in this one, and it's Washington for me.
And I am actually going the over. Granted, we talked about Gonzalez with an incredible 2 runs or less in 10 of his 11 starts, but he gets out of that game. They score a few runs. Atlanta, number 1 in slugging against lefties at .474, number 1 in batting against lefties, .284. They score a few runs against them. We know McCarthy's given up a few runs. I like the over.
But I'm not committing to anybody because I like to know what the bullpen usage is and some other factors, and so until the prior day's game is complete, I don't commit to anything as far as the next day is concerned.
Well, absolutely. I agree with you on that part. Going to Sunday, we got a pitching matchup. We got Yankees with CC Sabathia, and you've got Baltimore with Dylan Bundy, and we just talked about some pitchers have that good luck and some pitchers have that bad luck. Dylan Bundy, he's had 3 bad starts, and they were all in a row. And then you look at it.
And what happened in those 3 starts, because I can tell you what happened, is that he lost command with his fastball, and he was getting too many. He could not get the fastball to be anywhere other than the middle of the strike zone for a strike, and that's bad because, in other words, it was way out of the strike zone, which didn't tempt hitters, or it was in a bad place and they crushed it. He's figured that out. He's fixed that. His slider has been exceptional all year. It's been absolutely fantastic. Unfortunately, he plays on a garbage team, and that's not helping him.
Yeah, I had him. Full disclosure, I was the $2 Tuesday guy at WagerTalk. I had Baltimore that day. Another
it's
tough
well enough to win.
3-2 loss. He did his job, just didn't get any support.
There's certain pitchers that when you look at their ERA, they have a couple games where you're never going to correct your ERA. You just can't even look at it. Bundy's one of those. He has a 4.46 ERA, yeah. But you talked about that 3-game stretch, Dave and Marco. From April 26th to May the 8th, he made 3 starts, 8 2/3 innings, 16 runs. Yep.
Well,
you don't get
was
worse
than
starts than
was
that.
it Kansas City or somebody? He didn't get out of the first inning, 9 runs or something they scored.
It was one of the worst. It actually graded out as one of the worst starts of all time.
Yeah, and then because he is a good pitcher and had that
real good pitcher.
I jumped on him I think you were on him that day too. It was a Sunday game. They come back and win like 17-1. Yep.
Yeah.
Pitched the gem.
And on the flip side, we talk about CC. We always joke about Bartolo on the radio, and you know what? My God! But you look at CC Sabathia from 2013 to 2015. He had ERAs of 4.78, 5.28, and 4.73. Now in 17, he had a 3.69 ERA. In 16, he had a 3.91 ERA, and this year now he's pitching at a 3.73 ERA. But I think Sabathia is done. I'm officially putting the fork in him.
Why?
First 6 starts this year, 1.71 ERA. His last 4 starts, he's allowed 20 runs in 18 and a half inning.
It's his slider command hasn't been good the last few starts, but this guy's a quality pitcher, and he'll fix it. It's mechanics. I don't think there's anything wrong with his arm at all. He's a brilliant pitcher. He's transformed himself into from what was a really great power pitcher, one of the most intimidating guys.
Back with the Indians, absolutely. My God,
he was spectacular. I mean, that window
he was Kluber-esque. Yeah,
he went to the Brewers for a while, and it's just forget about it. You're not hitting this guy. And then he lost that velocity, and it looked like he was all done. But he has reinvented himself and become a good pitcher. He's still going to have periods, and eventually there'll be a period where it's the end because he's getting up there. But I don't think it's the end right now. I think he's just in one of those periods where he's just not. Things are not working mechanically, and pitchers are getting up in the zone that are not supposed to be up in the zone. You might have to wait for it to straighten out, but I think he'll be fine long run.
But on the flip side of it, because his numbers haven't been good, and we've talked about guys that have pitched well but don't have wins, he's not taking losses because they score him runs or they come back late and bail him out.
2-1 on the year, absolutely,
and bail him out.
Well, they got a great bullpen. They've got all these guys who can bang the ball. I mean, they're a good team.
Dave, you talked about him coming back. His last 3 starts, he has a 10-9 strikeout-walk ratio.
Yeah, that's not real good.
His previous 5 starts was 19-3. Yep. So obviously there is something there.
He's definitely off right now.
For me in this game, as you say, Dave, you can't commit because you don't know what the bullpen situation and everything is. Well, you know what? There's a way for me to fix that one, and that's the way I'm going in this one because I don't want any part of the Baltimore bullpen. Because if it goes past the 5th inning and we take it to the bullpens, Yankees have major advantage over Baltimore in the late innings. I'm going first 5 innings, and I'm going with Dylan Bundy here. I love the way he's pitching right now. I don't like the way CC's pitching right now, and I don't want to deal with the bullpen, so I'll go 5 innings.
And one other thing you'll get, and this happens with bad teams, there's a real lack of intensity and focus. Except when they're best pitchers on the mound. Those are the games where they go on the field actually feeling like they've got a chance to win, and they play better baseball. And that's been happening with the Orioles when Bundy takes them out.
And one thing to remember moving forward, this is just a tip. Look at lineups on Sunday games. And you do the same thing on Thursday games because a lot of times managers, if it's the road team, you're not going to sit stars generally when you're at home. But when you're on the road, if you're going to give a guy a day off, it's going to be a day game following a night game, and right before you're heading out, that you're traveling.
With catchers,
they're playing
but
on
it's the
Monday.
extra pit,
so that you look at those lineups on Sunday because they're a lot of times they're not going to be the normal lineups that you see on 5 of the 7 days, 6 of the 7 days, and that's another advantage to home teams.
Marco, you talked about the first 5 innings, and Dave, I know your baseball season at WagerTalk has been absolutely amazing, and a lot of games you split first 5 and the game if the line's a little high. Is there anything else besides the bullpen that makes you look towards the first 5 innings?
Well, if it's just based on the starting pitching. Yeah. I had one missed yesterday, but I took Alex Reyes, who, by the way...
It missed, what, 1-0?
Yeah.
That's
It was bottom of the 5th.
Yeah.
After Reyes left with another injury, which I can't handicap. I can't handicap that.
Absolutely.
I've had 2 games. I had 2 games back-to-back days. Matt's with the Mets where I'm up 4-0, and he looks great, and he has to leave because he did something to his finger. And then Reyes... who didn't look great, but it's still nothing going to the 5th inning, and all of a sudden Reyes isn't in the game anymore. And by the way, he's on the DL and is probably going to be out till after the All-Star break now with a lat strain. I mean, sometimes it goes that way, but I had a big starting pitcher advantage which I actually wasn't right on because the Milwaukee starter didn't give up anything.
Right.
But neither did my guys, so I probably should have pushed it, but that's the way it goes.
When you lose a 1-0 game, that's not a loss playing the first 5 innings. That's just baseball happening, catching up with you. And, again, congrats on your incredible season.
But, again, yes, and I just want to throw something in here with you using Reyes. I used another pitcher yesterday that was making his first start after a long injury, and I know a lot of guys don't like this angle because they say, well, they're on pitch counts and this and that, the first starts. But I like taking a pitcher when he has been on a DL for a long time, somebody that's battled back from Tommy John surgery or something. That first start, and yesterday it was with Eovaldi for
Boy, he pitched well.
Tampa Bay.
Yep.
I was on him, and because you're not going to get a more focused effort from that pitcher all year long than the first one when he makes it back to the big
I
show.
want to see what he does in his next start.
Yeah, the next start's a
second
start.
start off the DL can also be one where
It goes the other way.
Yep.
Because one, he's not going to have the same intensity that he had for the first start. You've battled back so long, getting yourself healthy from that injury and get to the show. I love taking that angle, and I got him as a dog against a team that had scored 1.9 runs over the average the last 7 games.
Marco, I'm absolutely putting you on the spot, and I realize this. It's Thursday. We're taping an hour before the Dodgers are starting. Kershaw, since 2015, has had 49 home starts. We talked about this on the radio. He's been an average favorite of 265. Only once in those 49 starts has he been a favorite of under 170, and that was against Scherzer, who's off back-to-back Cy Youngs earlier this year. Kershaw lost that 5-2. Is there value with him minus 160 tonight?
You've got to figure that he's going to be on a pitch count tonight, but the thing is, right now, the Dodgers are playing so well, and
Nola's pitching so well as on the flip side.
He's pitching well too. I had a game Monday night. I had Philadelphia. They were up 4-0 over the Dodgers, and there was a situation. I'm home free, and the Dodger bullpen that wasn't good at the beginning of the season. When a team starts winning, it's amazing, Dave. And baseball is such a team sport and it's a more streaky sport than any other sport out there, in my opinion. When teams get on runs, you want to stay with them.
They're playing every day. And they'll stay hot or cold.
Right. And a team that starts winning and their bullpen had been, playing bad all year, all of a sudden it's contagious. Now the bullpen's good. The starting pitchers are good. I'm not jumping in front of the Dodgers. I did it once this week, and they ran me over until they cool off. We knew what this team was supposed to do, and they burned a lot of money early in the season, and now you're getting a little bit of value because they're underpriced. But, still, when you see Kershaw that low, it puts up a caution sign. It's like when I was writing my lines in a book, and I'm still old school, I still get the old Don Best schedule, and I write the pictures and the lines in, because when you write something as opposed to reading it, for me, you retain everything more for whenever you're pulling stuff from recall. When I just read something, I know it now. I might forget it, tomorrow.
It's also better for keeping track of line movement because you might not be able to pick up on the screen games where it's swinging back and forth,
right?
Whereas you can
writing the lines in.
Yep.
So for me, I'm not jumping in front of Philly.
No.
And for this game, closing out our Yankees, Baltimore, I'm going first 5 innings, and I think that's a solid play. All right, guys, that finishes up this segment of the podcast. You know what's next? It's best bets.
Okay.
They've been running hot, guys. Don't miss
like sockeye salmon.
That's the best bet.
Sockeye salmon? Is it in yet?
It arrived at Joe's today, actually. Today was the first day. They finally got it in. But for those of you out of town, too bad for you. But we've got Copper River sockeye salmon at Joe's Seafood Prime Steak and Stone Crab, and it's the best salmon I have ever tasted.
I keep hearing. Yeah.
What?
Joe's owes me a beer too.
Yeah. I keep hearing about this sockeye salmon.
So have I.
I think it's make believe.
No, it's not. I'll bet you money that if you have it, it's like, holy shit, this is really.
You know what? And we're now out of total context. But Dave said on the radio today, you know what? You talk about things that you really love, and there's a lot of times people jump in your face and say that's not true. That's never happened to you, Dave.
No, I don't talk.
For the salmon.
I don't do.
For the salmon, I mean.
I don't do promos for anything that I don't.
That's
like.
Exactly. That's.
I've had a couple of offers to do testimonials over the years on the radio show, and it's like, I'm not doing that. I had one, and I'll tell you one quickly. It was for a male enhancement type of thing. And it's like, that's
Viagra?
No. I'm talking one of those products that's supposed to make you larger.
Oh,
okay,
we needed a rim shot.
This is bullshit. Okay. There's no such thing. Okay, if you want to believe there is.
Did they want you to say, not only am I the president, I use it?
I'm serious. I'm supposed to go on there and do a testimonial for this. It's like, first of all, I'm not taking any pills that I don't know what the side effect. I'm not much for taking pills anyway. For me, Tylenol is about as far as I go. But it's like I'm not endorsing that. First of all, it's garbage, okay, in my opinion. Okay, I think it's luck of the draw as far as that particular aspect goes. And they offered good money. And it's like, no. But for the restaurants that I go to and that I really love, yeah, I'm happy to have them on the show.
There's a word called integrity. That's what it means.
Dave says, I don't need the product, I can't endorse it. We'll go from there.
And same thing with the restaurants he promotes. He goes, he eats there. It's it's common sense, it's integrity, it's whatever you call it.
I guess this is completely off on a tangent. It's wasting time, but I'll say it anyway.
Hey, they're waiting for the best bets, so they ain't going anywhere.
We've had car dealers on, and the live spots aren't as good when I do them because I drive a Mercedes, and I mean.
Well, you can't drive 5 different, brands of cars.
Well, that happens to be what I drive, and it's like, it's just not as believable if I'm doing a testimony for another make that I'm not driving. Yeah. I mean, I can say great things about the car and believe them. Fabulous warranty and good product, excellent service, but I'm still not driving it. So maybe it's better to get somebody who's actually driving one to do the testimonial.
Yeah, and I just don't understand. And we'll go to best bets after this, but. He eats at all these restaurants, and he tells me about all this food he's eating, and he's as skinny as a rail.
Not though.
Let me put it to you. The 3 guys that are sitting in this booth right now doing this podcast, you're the skinny ass.
Well, yeah, but unfortunately what I've got is all gone to the same location now, and the pot belly is starting to expand a bit.
Yeah, you got a ways to go, buddy.
No, I can't.
You can't catch up to Ralph and me. Okay,
I can't rest a drink on it just yet.
Hey!
Did you see Ralph at the pool? That's how he does this. All right, guys, we're out of this segment. We'll be right back with best bets. If anybody's out there still listening, best bets are up next. Welcome back to the WagerTalk Podcast. We're in the home stretch. It is best bet time. If you've been following us the last 8 weeks, 13-8 with the best bets. We're going to start with the man under the hat because he's got a 2-part play for you, possibly. Dave, what are you looking at?
Well, I hope it's a 1-part play. Just win the game 3, and we'll leave it at that. Golden Knights and Capitals. I'm going to take a half unit on Golden Knights. So if this were a percentage on WagerTalk, it'd be like a 2% on the Golden Knights in Game 3. If they lose, because I do think they'll get one of these 2 in Washington, then I'll come back and play like 3% in Game 4 because they're going to be a dog in both games, so you don't have to jeopardize a whole bunch of money. So I got 2% Game 3. If they lose, 3% Game 4. At worst, you can lose 5%. If they get the first one, I'm done. I'll just sit it out and take my profits and be happy.
And you know what? For the new bettors out there, that's a great way of looking at 2 games as 1 bet. And if you win, don't get greedy. Just take the profit.
Take the money and go home.
You look at the situation as a whole. You decide what you're going to do. You do as Dave suggested, make those bets, and it's an absolute way to money manage, and not only money manage, but get a profit the majority of time.
Moving to you, Ralph. You've got to play on Saturday. You're looking at the A's in Cahill. Tell us who the matchup and what you're looking at.
You know what? I'm going to play the A's and Cahill against Casey and Hamill. And actually, I was on Casey and Hamill the last time because they were the line was just absolutely crazy. But Cahill's a guy who was started with San Diego last year, got traded to Kansas City, made 3 starts, had 3 horrible starts as their starter, and then got regulated to the bullpen. He signed with the A's on the offseason. He's 1-2 this year. You don't think that's great, but he's got a 2.75 ERA and a 0.88 WHIP. And his 2 losses, well, I'll tell you what, they were on the road at Houston with Cole, who we talked about earlier, and at Boston against Chris Sale. So if you're going to lose 2 games, those aren't 2 bad games to lose.
Hale's a good pitcher until his arm falls off again, which will do because he's got a high.
Just not before Saturday.
No, he's been
okay.
He's a max effort delivery, and he's just constantly injuring himself. But when he's healthy, and he is right now, that's a good pitcher.
A's number 10 slugging against righties. A's number 10 batting average on the road. You talk about their home. We've talked about that many times, how they lose so many points batting at home, but on the road they play fine. Hamill's off a great start. He had a great 10 strikeout and 5 in the 3rd inning start. I expect regression from him. I think the A's with Cahill a lot of value on Saturday.
I'm going to go to a game on Friday night, and it's Pittsburgh at St. Louis. And this is a quick revenge game, quick matchup between the 2 pitchers. And in that one, I had Pittsburgh I was going against Michaels here. He was pitching off of that outstanding game where he went the complete game, 9 innings. I think he struck out 11 or 12 in that one. But you look at him, he had a season high in pitch count. He threw 109 pitches. And I like to look at, everybody's impressed when a guy goes the distance and has high strikeouts. But what you got to go back and look at and see, when you have a lot of strikeouts, you're throwing a lot of pitches to get those strikeouts, and especially he went to 9 innings. And I didn't think he was going to be as effective, and he wasn't. He gave up 4 runs in the start. But the Pirate bullpen imploded in that game, gave up 5 runs in the last 2 innings, and, there went that one. But I look for him to have a better outing this one. He didn't have the high pitch count, back on normal rest, 2nd game back at home off of the road trip. They're playing tonight, Thursday, their first game back home. If they would happen to lose this game tonight, it makes the play tomorrow for me even stronger. And I'll give you a couple stats on Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is just 13-32 on the road when the total's 8 or 8.5 is what we're looking at for tomorrow night over the last 2 seasons. Pittsburgh also is a road underdog of plus 150 or less, just 18-37 in the last 2 years. I'm going to go ahead, take the Cardinals on Friday night for my best bet.
Who's throwing for Pittsburgh?
Taillon.
It is Taillon. Okay,
Yeah.
One thing on Taillon, by the way, I don't know why, but he cannot go. He's dynamite first time through the order.
Yeah.
After that, boy, they're picking up something on him because he is.
In his
after the first time through the order, he is not doing well.
He's much better pitching at PNC Park when he's on the road. His ERA is 5.47 and his WHIP's at 1.58.
By the way, what the hell is up with Gregory Polanco? Why is this guy like the ultimate unfulfilled potential? And you look at him in the spring, and he's just he just looks absolutely gone. This is going to be the breakout for Polanco.
Yep.
And here it is, June 1st, sitting 208 or something. I mean, it's
he started the season out good. He had a great spring and started the season out good. This guy,
he's supposed to be a superstar. It's just not happening.
Because of where he came from, and everybody, people were like, "Oh, this could be the next, the best player since Clemente." In the prospect, because he played right field. All of the comparison.
I think Can I throw one? I mean, we're going long, but I think he is one of the guys who is falling victim to this launch angle madness that's out there. He's taking shorten up the swing. Use your speed. Mm-hmm. Watch Joey Votto, okay? Just to take some video of Joey Votto and try and do that. Polanco looks like he's trying to break Roger Maris's record or Barry Bonds or whatever. And you're not that type, and it's killing him. Okay, because he should be way better than he is.
Yeah, lost start in baseball is going the other way, hitting the other way. Everybody
shorten up the swing.
Yep.
Yeah,
lost start. All right, guys, great stuff. Want to thank everybody, our guests this week. Thank Ralph and Dave being in studio with me and, busting my balls for part of the show.
And we heard stories about Dave with, male enhancement videos.
I didn't use it. No, I take a look in the mirror after the shower, and it's like, Jesus, I should have tried that stuff. But,
Hey, where could we got to end on that note after that. We want to leave everybody with that visual.
Yep, leave on a high note.
Yeah. And we'll shout out to Johnny Detroit, who takes care of getting this podcast up and out to everybody on social media. You can subscribe to us on iTunes if they don't boot us off for Dave's enhancement. Check us out on iHeartRadio. And a big thank you to Mark Seidel. He's the guy behind the controls that makes us sound good. Guys, till next week, cash some tickets. I'll see you next week.